Let's round out the vowels that we've learned with a few more that the Masoretes have inserted into the Hebrew text. The first of these is the schwa. This is not really a full vowel in and of itself. We don't really classify it under the A class or E class or O class vowels or any of those. It is a very brief sound, audibly probably indistinguishable from the reduced vowels. In fact, you may see a bit of an affinity with those in its the way it looks. Those two vertical dots look kind of like those Hatef vowels that we have already learned. So it's a very brief sound. Sometimes it is actually silent, and we'll discuss the rules for that later. If it is vocal, it could be compared to the A sound in about or the U sound in supply. Just very brief, almost indiscernible. If it is vocal, it will be transliterated either as a superscript E, kind of to indicate its diminutive nature, or a inverted E. If it is not vocal, if it is a silent schwa, it's left out both for the purposes of pronunciation and transliteration. It simply indicates that a syllable is closing. Another thing that you will need to know is that at certain points within the development of Hebrew, scribes began to recognize that it would be useful to indicate that vowels were present prior to the development of the Masoretic vowel pointing system. And so earlier, probably 300-400 in the post-exilic period, scribes would use certain consonants to indicate the presence of vowels. One classic example is the name David, or David, in the Book of Kings, the older text, is just spelled with 3 consonants, Dalet, Vav, Dalet. By the time you get to the later text, Chronicles, you will primarily see the name spelled as Dalet, Vav, Yod, Dalet. This is not an indication of a change in pronunciation, but rather of a spelling convention. They've decided, the scribes at that point decided to indicate that E sound in the second syllable of the king's name with the Yod. So there's no change in pronunciation, just a change in spelling to aid the reader. These vowel letters are also known by their Latin name, the Matras Lectionis, or mothers of reading. They are an aid for the reader to understand where, if there might have been some ambiguity, where to place a vowel sound, or what type of vowel sound to place there. When the Masoretes began adding their vowel points, they treated these consonants as vowels. So whether it was the Dalet, Vav, Dalet form of this name, or the Dalet, Vav, Yod, Dalet, they inserted the same vowels because it would have been pronounced the same way. David would have been pronounced as such, and they pointed it as such. Now you'll note that this entire object, the Yod and Hirik combined, are the vowel. This is not a consonant, vowel, consonant, vowel, consonant. This is a vowel in and of itself called a Hirik Yod. And so we would pronounce that as David, just as if the Yod were a full Hirik Yod or if it were just a Hirik. 3 consonants were used in this way to indicate vowel sounds. That is the hey, which would be used exclusively at the ends of words, but to represent a variety of vowel sounds. The vav could be used at the end, in the middle, or sometimes even at the beginning of words to indicate an O or U sound. And the yod would be used in the middle or at the end of words to indicate an I or an E sound. Aleph was also used occasionally, but we will not address that in this scheme. The only hey vowel that I will have you memorize is the comet's hay. It has that long A sound just as if it were a comet's, but just for the sake of clarification, they would insert this consonant in there. Note that this entire apparatus, as it were, the vowel, the comet's, and the hay combined are the vowel. This is not a vowel and a consonant. This is a comet's hay, has that long A sound. As far as the sound of it, indistinguishable from the comet's, but you will want to note in the text that it has a different appearance, which is also represented in the transliteration by putting that A with a caret above it rather than the macron of the long vowel transliteration scheme. The hay would sometimes also indicate E sounds or O sounds, the comet's holum, the holum hay and the Seagull hay, but I won't have you memorize those. They're less common and not as important. I think once you kind of wrap your head around this concept, you'll be able to recognize those other ones with relative ease. The yod would be used to indicate sometimes the same sound as the sere, so we have the sere yod, again, a single vowel that is indicated by both these signs. It does have that long E sound, just like the sere does, and it is transliterated with that same scheme, the E with the caret above it, sere yod. The Hirik yod would indicate the I vowel. Once again, this is our vowel, transliterated with that same scheme with the caret above the I. The Vav would, as I mentioned, indicate sometimes an O sound. That is called here the holum Vav. Williams' book refers to it as the full holum, which is fine. You can call it either one and I will know what you're talking about. It has that long O sound. I have not put the bait in there because this can kind of stand alone to be recognized. It doesn't need that placeholder, but notice this is not a vo or ov or anything else like that. This is a vowel and it just has that O sound. You don't need to make any attempt to put the vav consonant sound with this. It is simply O. Likewise, the shurik, it looks like a vav with a dagesh in it, but it represents a U sound. Again, it does not need to be pronounced as vu or anything like that. It solely represents, it has no consonantal quality to it. It solely represents that vowel sound of oo and should be treated as such.